Long ago, specifically on May 24th, 2019, this channel reviewed Dragon Ball Z, The Legacy of Goku 2, and concluded the tale of the Legacy of Goku series for the Game Boy Advance. Except, there is still one more game left to look at, and this particular creator is just a lazy ass.
I suppose I should have gotten around to this much sooner, but yeah, it's time to finally talk about Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury. Dragon Ball Z The Legacy of Goku 2 ended up performing much better critically than its predecessor, but only sold a little over half as much. Nevertheless, and as expected, since there was still one major arc of the Dragon Ball Z anime to cover, being the entirety of the Boo arc, Dragon Ball Z Boo's Fury was released a little over a year later. And to me personally, this is tied with Legacy of Goku 2 for the best in the trilogy regarding overall gameplay polish, the addition of more RPG mechanics, and the overall fun factor. In regards to story, Boo's Fury picks up immediately after Legacy of Goku 2, following Goku's adventure to the Grand Kai's planet after his death, all the way up to when Majin Buu is defeated for good and when Goku flies away with Oob at the World Tournament, leading into Dragon Ball GT, which, nobody talks about that. Of course, the vast majority of the filler from the show is eliminated, and a few events are a bit inaccurate or just missing some things, but it's still a very comprehensible retelling of the last third of Dragon Ball Z. There are even a few non-canon things added in from the movies, such as a SparkNotes version of the events of Fusion Reborn and Broly's Second Coming. Many of the same music tracks from Legacy of Goku 2 return, and a lot of new music also being versions of the Falconer scores introduced as well. And it's all really great to listen to. Every song is pretty much perfectly faithful to its original version. Dialogue also remains mostly faithful to the English dub of the show, and any fan of the series will just hear the characters saying what appears on screen. Key moments during certain parts of the story remain intact and true to the source, albeit a lot less dramatic, such as Goku going Super Saiyan 3, Majin Vegeta screaming about his pride, and Gohan not wanting to fight, but to destroy Majin Buu. Yeah. Everything still looks great graphically and appears to be a bit of an improvement over the last game. Character portraits during dialogue are also completely different. They somewhat retain the anime look but have this weird pseudo 3D style to them. Each character portrait changes facial expressions as well during intense dialogue segments or other situations that are sometimes completely inappropriate. All the sprites are good and accurate and all have some smooth animations and expressions when taking damage. And then you have Broly over here that looks like a tiny-headed gorilla. Boo's Fury isn't quite as long as Legacy of Goku 2, but you'll still get around 10 or more hours out of it if you aren't going for a completionist run, which will obviously tack on a few more. But in this game's case, there's a much larger amount of that time that will be spent simply grinding to get through the returning level gates. I'd say that about 50% of my entire playthrough was spent grinding. But in my case, whenever one character needed to be a certain level for a gate, I went ahead and got every character up to that level so that they wouldn't be left in the dust when they'd inevitably have their own level gate to bust through. That, and I didn't want anybody being one-shot. Speaking of characters, we once again have 5 characters to play as, being Goku, Gohan, Goten, Trunks, and Vegeta. Movesets are all pretty similar, with each character possessing some form of the Kamehameha attack or Vegeta with his final flash. Each character also has their own unique special attack, like Vegeta's Big Bang attack or Gohan's Masenko, for example. The charged melee attacks from the last game are nowhere to be found though, but there has been a blocking feature added that I honestly didn't get much use out of. You can now block with the right shoulder button, which dramatically reduces the amount of damage you take. Also, you can hold down the energy attack button while blocking, which will create a barrier that further reduces damage intake. Another new mechanic introduced is, of course, fusion. But aside from a few key story points involving fusion such as Gotenks fighting Buu, or Vegito and Buu, and even Gogeta against Janemba, you can't even regularly fuse until after the game. And to even unlock the ability for Goku and Vegeta to fuse into Gogeta, you need to achieve 100% completion. To get 100% completion, you simply just need to amass a collection of these Herculean Z-Fighter related collectibles. You can acquire these by simply purchasing some of them for extremely high amounts of Zenny. Oh yeah, you can also get money and buy stuff now, I'll get to that. And by doing fetch quests. Is this worth it at all? To me, nah, but that's for you to decide. To be honest, you're better off spending your money on gear. There are several different types of gear you can buy, ranging from shoes to increase your overall speed, These weighted items like armbands or shoes that make you incredibly slow but heavily increase the amount of experience points you gain from enemies, regular armors that just increase overall stats like strength and endurance, and finally you have accessories that can also boost your base stats or give you some sort of effect like less energy consumption among other things. But to be really honest, just buy food and drinks to restore your health and energy, since you need to navigate menus to restore said health and vitals instead of having them automatically restore when walking over food like in the previous game. Of course, you can just hold out until you level up to have everything restored as well, since you'll be grinding so much, and no, I will not stop stressing that. Most of the gear you can buy will just be dropped by enemies, and I promise you that you'll be getting tons of drops simply from the amount of grinding you'll be doing. On top of using gears to boost stats, upon leveling up, your skills don't all just level up a couple of points like in the game before. Instead, you acquire 3 skill points for each level up. These 3 skill points can go to any of the 3 upgradable abilities, which are just melee strength, energy strength, and endurance at any time. Personally, I kept my stats for every character completely balanced. Boring, I know. But nothing is stopping you from making Goku a melee-centric character, or Vegeta an energy blast throwing tank, at least in theory, because I never tried that out to see if you could. The game sounds deeper than it is, and that's what kinda upsets me. Simply put, this shit is too easy, especially now that enemies don't bounce off walls anymore. Some of my favorite fights in the entire Dragon Ball Z series, like Goku against Majin Vegeta or Gohan vs Super Buu, are reduced to just mashing the A button. Nothing in this game is as cool and epic as when you fight Android 17 as Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku 2. Like, that's the pinnacle for this series. The journey leading up to these moments are still pretty fun. I enjoyed playing as Gohan before having to go to school and just beating the piss out of random thugs in the woods close to home, which is probably not really a good thing. That house is not safe. I enjoyed all the areas involved in getting the Dragon Balls as Goten and Trunks, but that's really all there is to the game. There aren't little side quests like in Legacy of Goku 2. You can't go save children who are involved in a bus wreck or save a village from a rampaging group of Triceratops. You go through mostly unique areas that are interesting and full of wacky-ass enemies ranging from zombies, Count Dracula cosplayers, weird cheery ghosts, mummies, and unkillable skeleton warrior guys. You can hop across train cars in the desert as you save the citizens aboard a hijacked train while some hype-ass music plays, or my favorite, taking down a gigantic airship full of cool-ass cyborg men that ends with you having to run all the way down to the exit as the self-destruct timer goes down. And then you have bland places like Babidi Spaceship that are just repeated rooms full of bald Majin grunts and automated turrets. There's a lot that this game gets right and a bit that it does wrong. In some aspects, Buu's Fury is the pinnacle of the Legacy of Goku trilogy, and in others it falls short of its predecessor. Either way, Dragon Ball Z Buu's Fury is a very fitting send-off for this trilogy of games, and I can't recommend this entire series as a whole enough to anyone, especially Dragon Ball fans. Damn it, I hope these games can be remade somehow. If there are any similar action RPGs to these, please recommend them in the comments. And, well, again, I'm sorry for taking so damn long to finally get this video. Let's just say I've had some creative issues personally. But of course, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.